Hello, thanks for joining me this week on Thursday with Annette. We're baking today and we're going gluten-free. Now don't turn me off because you're going, I don't want gluten-free. This is fabulous. You don't even need to be worrying about gluten-free. It is just a joy to eat for anybody. But for those that are gluten-free, you're in this week for sure. So it's out of book 7 and it's the gluten-free section I'm going to, and that's what we're making here is the Mini Apple Teacakes. Now I love these so much, and every time I make them, everyone just inhales them. It doesn't matter if you don't care about gluten-free. They are just a yummy little controlled portion of a tea cake. I love tea cake though. I mean, I think that shows you I'm an old girl, because tea cakes to me just fill my heart with so much love. I love them. And you'll notice that in the books, nearly every book I'm sure I have done a tea cake for you because I love them so much. Now I've got my oven preheated to 180 degrees. I've got my 12-cup muffin tin ready to be putting my mixture in. But what we need for this recipe is pretty well, I have this stuff in my house all the time. So this is where it's great if you've got some surprise visitors, and anyone that is catering for someone that's gluten-free, they will really appreciate you going to the effort and making them something like this, but you'll enjoy it as well. Now, if you want to win book 7, I'll tell you how to do it at the end of the show. But for all the winners, I announce them on Thursday in the Facebook page at Simply Too Good. So you'll find out if you're a lucky winner next week there. Now we need 2 small green, medium-sized apples. Green is really good for this tea cake because it's a bit sharper, and I love that. We're going to use 3 egg whites. Then we've got Floralite margarine, which I'll melt shortly. I've got my little baby apple, and this is what I use, and it really adds moisture to the muffins, but also it's an apple flavour too. And so that's what we're going to use. We use the whole baby jar. We've got some white sugar, bicarb soda, skim milk, and of course to make it gluten-free I'm using some almond meal, and what that is just really finely crushed up almonds, and they've got skinless. There you can see that it doesn't have the skin in there, otherwise it'd have lots of brown in it. Now almond meal, you could do hazelnut meal if you preferred, doesn't matter, but this is what really helps bind this really well as a gluten-free recipe. I've also got some vanilla, cinnamon, some extra sugar, because on the tea cake we're going to put a little bit of cinnamon sugar on the top, and we've got our self-raising gluten-free flour. Now I've never made it with normal flour because no one wants me to change it, it's so fabulous. Okay, so that's what we're doing today. Now the first thing I've got to do is peel my apples. And we're going to, what I do with it is, and read the recipe so you're clear on it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to, with this first apple, 1 apple, I'm going to small dice or do small cubes of apple, which actually go into the mix. Then the next apple will be sliced, thinly sliced, and will go on the top. So I'll explain it as we go, how you can measure it all out. And the variation to this is you can, if you wish, replace it with fresh pear, which is lovely. And you could also replace it with berries, frozen berries, instead of the apple. So that would be another variation for you. Let me just get rid of my peel. Don't you just love my watermelon chopping board? And of course, I hope you know now that I've got the little baby to the family, my little lemon chopping board. I love this so much for just the smaller things. You can see it's just that little bit smaller, but it's made by the same family, so it's just as good as the watermelon one. All right, so we're going to, each of the apples, we're going to quarter them, and we're going to core them. Now I'm going to get a smaller knife to do that. I might bring my little rubbish bin over here. I always like to have a rubbish bin handy like this because I find it just makes cooking quicker and easier than having to rush back and forwards with the bin. And in the olden days, I used to have a supermarket bag in there, which we don't sort of do that anymore. And then I'd lift it out and just put it in the bin. But we're going away from the plastic, aren't we? All right, coring the apples. And remember, we need to dice the first lot. And that's where we need 1 cup of diced apple. So I've got my cup measure here. So let's do this. So when you're dicing it, you're going to go along into strips like that. And because I want it small, I'm actually going to go back over and cut through it. So I'll show you what I'm doing here. See, this is the piece. I'm going to go in like that so they're thinner, and that way you're going to get lovely small cubes of apple, and it will blend into the batter really well. Now let me show you again how I do it. I slice it, and then I go through like that. See how it's not as chunky, and that way you'll get lovely small pieces of apple in your mix. So we want a cup, so I reckon let's do this. Remember, go through it. All right, 1 cup we need. Might need to do a bit more. Yep. All right, so let's get this one. So you kind of nearly use up one of the whole apples to do the dicing. There we go. If you've only got red apples at home, look, that's fine, but I do prefer the sharpness of the green in a tea cake. Look at that's perfect. So that 1 apple is perfectly 1 cup. So I'm just going to leave that to the side. And now what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to melt my marge, because I like to be, you know, ambidextrous. Is that the right word? Multitasking, Bill says. Okay, that sounds better. I'm going to melt the marge on 7. And I'm going to now slice the apples. Now, the apple, you want it to be thin. You don't want it to be too thick. Otherwise, it will fall through the cake because it'll be just a bit heavy. I've worked it out, you need about 3 per muffin, 3 slices. Sharp knife really helps when you're cutting like this. I'm going to cut the whole lot up and then see how I go when I'm topping them with this, and then I top with the cinnamon and sugar. As I said, you can replace, pear would be really nice for a change. If you've got a pear tree in your garden and you've got lots of pears, there you go. All right, so there is my apple diced. Oh, sliced, sorry, Bill. Thank you for picking up on me. Isn't he a good director? Oh, God, I love him. All right, let's get rid of all this. Okay, so the margarine should have melted nicely. And now we can start doing the muffin mix. So I'm going to put down a tea towel, and that just, because this is a granite, it clanks around a lot, so it's no good for noise. Right, so what we do is we're doing 3 egg whites. Now, you know, I tend to just throw the yolk out, but you could buy the egg whites in the carton if you prefer, and it's 36 grams for an egg white. So you times that by 3 if you want to do it that way. But I've just saved 18 grams of fat straight up by not including the yolk. And you will not go, I really missed the yolk in there, Annette. No, you won't even know about it. All right, so we're going to put 1/3 cup of white sugar in, and we're going to beat that with the electric beater for a minute. Thanks for joining me today. I love baking, and I love baking for you, because then we get to enjoy it for afternoon tea. Now, the muffins freeze really well. So I always make a full batch because I put them in the freezer in a zip bag, and just pop them out and defrost them like bread. Beautiful. There we go. All right, so now we're going to combine the little apple jar. It's a 110 gram little baby apple. I like it because it's sugar-free. And we're going to put in 3/4 of a teaspoon of bicarb soda. Now it goes into the apple. And what this does is it really lightens it up and makes it just a beautiful mix. See, it'll froth up. Let's put that in the bowl. And I like the jar because I don't have any waste with it. I mean, if you have a lot of apple sauce, you could always just measure it out, and it's half a cup to give you an idea. But I like just using the jar. Works out so much easier. Okay, we're going to blend that in. Don't forget to have your oven preheated so you know that it's ready for you when you're ready to bake. Now we're going to put in the milk to the melted margarine. And it's good to put the milk in with that because it will cool the melted margarine down. And by putting the foil on the top, the cling wrap on the top, it really does help you avoid any splattering. So it's keeping your microwave clean. And I always do it on about a 70% power because I find that otherwise it's too much, too quick. And I did that one, if you remember, for 30 seconds. There we go. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to put in the diced apple. Remember, we already did a cup. We're going to put in 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon. Let's do that. 1.5. So there's 1. Move it down to 1/2. There we go. And I'm going to keep that there because I'm going to use that again for the topping. And then we want a teaspoon of vanilla essence. I'm sorry, it's not extract in Australia, it's essence. That's an American extract. I think England does extract as well. Okay, in goes the almond meal. And you'll get that in the health section in your supermarket. Blend that all together. All right, now put your beater away now because we don't want to, we want to fold through the flour. And what we're going to do is we're going to sift it. Always sift it through. It always is a good idea. Even the gluten-free. Now, the gluten-free flour is very light. And this is why I said I can't tell you if you do the same amount with normal flour because actually the gluten-free flour seems to be a lighter flour. There we go. And my wooden spoon comes into action now. We've done everything, haven't we? Yep, move that away. All right, so we're just going to fold that into the wet mix. You get 12 muffins and each muffin is 4.4 grams of fat. So it's just fabulous. I hope you make them because they are really delicious. I probably say that about all my recipes, but this one, please give it a try because it is spectacular. Well, I've got my apple in there so you can see the batter. Look at that, isn't that a beautiful mix? Perfect. Now, of course, we don't use these, so don't just put them to the side. We're going to make some cinnamon sugar in a minute. But what we're going to do is we're now going to coat our muffin tin, 12 cup, with cooking spray. Now, I'm going to go over the sink because I don't want to get this all over the bench. I always spray it that way, then that way, and then that way. Good to go. All right. We're now going to divide the mix so we get 12 muffins. There we go. Let's put that in there. I'll get my spoon. All right, so let's see how we go. I might just try and sort of, you know, you can always come back and add more. So I just go along with a rough amount. And then we'll assess it and see who needs some more in it, or if someone's got too much, like that one just did. And remember, only 4.4 grams of fat. These are wonderful for an afternoon tea. I'm going to scrape that down so I get all the mix. So you get 12. So, you know, I like it because it's in a controlled amount as well. Like with a tea cake, it's really up to you how you do your slices. All right, now I'm going to flatten it out a bit, and you can see some have just got too much and some don't have enough. That one's got too much. Put that over there. All right, so this one here definitely needs more. And so does that one. Oh gosh, I'm making a mess, but that's all right. That's what home cooking's all about, isn't it? And it's so lovely, I think, when you make homemade compared to what you buy in the shop. A, it's made with love, and B, it's definitely cheaper. All right, so let's have a look. What do we think? I think they look pretty good. What do you reckon? All right, look at that. 12 gorgeous little muffins. All right, I could be there for hours. I'm not going to do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to now bake these. Oh, no. Oh, hello. Most important, I've got to top it. See, normally that's what you'd say when you do them. But this is super fabulous. And we want a tablespoon of white sugar. And then we want 3/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon. All right, and then I'm just going to mix it up, and that's your cinnamon sugar. And then all we have to do is top with the apples. I'm just going to wash my hands for a sec. There we go. And what you do is you get your apple slices that we've already done, and then you put 3 on top. All right. So just go along each one. That's why it's good if they're not too thick, because they'll sit really well on top. I mean, if you've got any slices left over, then you get a snack. And if they're a bit small, some of the slices, then you can always add a little bit more. I mean, how awesome is this? Who wouldn't want this for afternoon tea? I mean, what I love is freezing them, as I said, and what I do is I pop them out for morning tea. Great for packing in lunch boxes, all that sort of stuff. That one's a little bit little, so I'm going to add more there. So now I'm down to my little bits. So this is where I say you can just... come away. Add a few more to the smaller pieces. It's still going to be fabulous. All right, does anyone need a little bit more apple? No, I'm happy with that. For sure. All right, now what we do is, as I said, this is cinnamon sugar, and we're just going to sprinkle a little bit over the top. Once again, I'm going to just go over a little bit first, and then I can come back and be more generous. I just want to start off. How gorgeous do these look? And they're not even baked yet. So this is out of the gluten-free section, and they taste absolutely beautiful. All right, so now I know I've got plenty left here, so I can go over and be a bit more generous. to the ones that need a bit more, because there's plenty here, and I think it's what makes it even more fantastic is having that cinnamon sugar on the top. All right, looks like we are good. There we go. Voila! So they're going in the oven, 180 degrees fan forced. Now, it says in the book 25 to 30 minutes, so I'm going to do a 25. And then we'll check them and I'll be back. I'm going to clean up my kitchen because you know I'm such a mucky cook, and I'm going to come back with the finished product. I can't wait to show you. See you in a minute. Welcome back. The oven's beeping at me, so that means me muffins are ready. Oh yes. Well, I'll turn the oven off. Golly. See how fabulous they are? Yeah, you're going to make them now, aren't you? Have I convinced you? I mean, look at that. I mean, who knew weight loss could be so deliciously healthy and gluten-free? Thank you very much. Now, this is really hot. Normally, I would let them sit for about 5 minutes, but I know you want to see what they look like, so I'm going to try and see if I can get them out. Oh, they're hot. There we go. Maybe I'll just get out a couple. There you go. I'll just get those two there just to show you what they look like. Oh, do you want to? I'll do a couple more. Just remember, 4.4 grams of fat. I mean, so fabulous. Oh my gosh. Now, if you would like to win the recipe book, number 7, which has got the gluten-free section, and all you have to do is like, share, and then in the comments, you're just going to put in hashtag Symply2Good. If you put that in, then you can be in the draw, and I'll randomly pick 3 fantastic people to win a personally signed copy of book 7. And I mean, I think you're going to want this recipe if you don't have it. Now, next week's show, I'm going to go into book 3. And I'm going to make an old Chinese favourite of ours. Oh, I love it so much. You cannot get enough of this honey soy chicken stir fry. It's fantastic. And that will be what I'll be cooking next week on the show. And I'll tell you about the variations with it as well. But what I want to say to you is thank you once again. I really appreciate you spending time with me each week here on a Thursday. I really appreciate it. Just remember, you can freeze these really well. And if you want any more tips or recipes, all you've got to do is go to simply2good.com.au and you'll see lots of things in there. Alrighty, well, we're done and dusted for another fabulous day. Hello. Put the kettle on, Billy. See you next week. Bye.